Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we're all, of course, we know why we're here. The purpose of our coming, of course, is to show our gratitude and our joy at the coming of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And before I say much, I'm going to ask Brother Yusuf to come and recite some verses of the Quran for us, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقدموا بين يدي الله ورسوله واتقوا الله إن الله سميع عليم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي ولا تجهروا له بالقول كجهر بعضكم لبعض أن تحبط أعمالكم وأنتم لا تشعرون إن الذين يغضون أصواتهم عند رسول الله أولئك الذين امتحن الله قلوبهم للتقوى لهم مغفرة وأجر عظيم صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah khair. He also recited for us at our last program in honor of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And in that program I told him, which verses to recite. So this time when I told him I wanted him to recite again, so he asked me which verses, and I said for him to choose what he thought was appropriate for the occasion. And so these are the first three verses of Surah Hujurat, which is also known as Surah Adab, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Creator, is telling the believers the etiquettes of His beloved, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Which is also very unusual, because normally, if you have a king, the people under the king tell the people the etiquettes of the king. Here Al-Malik, the king of all creation, is telling the believer specifically the etiquettes of his beloved, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And each, the first two verses both start off with Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe. And the first verse, do not go ahead of Allah and His Messenger. Allah is hearing and knowing. And here ahead, is not necessarily talking about the physical go ahead. But don't place yourself ahead of Allah and His Messenger. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it says, do not raise your voice. The next verse is, do not raise your voices above the voice of the Messenger. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And don't talk to him like you talk to each other. To lower your voice is to humble yourself. And for us, don't talk about him like we talk about each other. And then the warning, lest your deeds, if you don't adhere to this, then your deeds will be wiped away and you won't even perceive it. Meaning there's no tawbah for you. Because in order to make tawbah, you have to acknowledge you've committed a sin. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes that away. This is for the believers because they should know better. He's not addressing the disbelievers. He's addressing the believers again because they should know better. We should know better. And then he defines the taqwa that is acceptable to him in the third verse. That إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَغُضُّونَ أَصْوَاتَهُمْ عِنْدَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ, that those who lower their voices before the messenger, meaning those who humble themselves before the messenger. He says these are the ones whose hearts have been tested with taqwa. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is certifying their taqwa. So these were the verses. I will probably make a few announcements in between. One is that we are sort of expecting a decent number of people, some people from out of town. So, parking is always an issue. Of course, Miss Ann across the street allows us to park in her yard or her area there. But when we park, don't block anybody. And right now I'm saying this, but everybody here knows this. I'll repeat this later on. We do have the property next door, and there, you can park. And if you block somebody, it's not as bad as blocking somebody over there. But still, don't block anybody. And the same thing goes for here. And the other thing is that it is legal to park on the road so long as you are parking, in the direction of traffic. So, because, a lot of people don't remember that. I'm going to ask, and basically between now and Maghrib, we'll have some knots, some recitation of poetry in honor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then Maghrib Salat, and then after Maghrib Salat will be the talk, and then Salam, and then Aisha, and then food, inshallah. Mohsin was supposed to be here, but my nephew, but he's sick, so I'm going to ask Jafar to come and recite for us, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Everybody please recite your Sharif. وأجمل منك لم ترى قط عين وأطيب منك لم تلد النساء خلقت مبرأ من كل عيب كأنك قد خلقت كما تشاء قمر سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل سيدنا النبي وجميل قمر سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل سيدنا النبي وجميل وكف المصطفى كالورد نادي الله الله وترها يبكى إذا مست عيادي الله الله وكف المصطفى كالورد نادي الله الله وترها يبكى إذا مست عيادي الله الله وأما نوالها كل العباد وأما نوالها كل العباد وأما نوالها كل العباد حبيب الله يا خير البراء يا قمر سيدنا النبي قمرون الشمس منه والبدور الله الله ولا ظل الله بل كان نورا الله الله تنال الشمس منه والبدور الله الله ولم يكن الهدى لولا ظهورا ولم يكن الهدى لولا ظهورا ولم يكن الهدى لولا ظهورا وكل الكون ينار بنور طه قمرون قمرون قمر سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل 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 سيدنا النبي وجميل.
Jazakallah khair. And that was in Arabic. He started off with poetry of Hassan bin Thabit, radiallahu anhu, who is amongst the poets of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's probably the most famous of the poets of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And these 4 lines of poetry, he said, were said after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spread out his sheet for him and commanded him to say something. And he says, وَأَجْمَلُ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدِ النِّسَاءُ وَأَجْمَلُ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدِ النِّسَاءُ وَأَجْمَلُ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدِ وَأَجْمَلُ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَرَكَتْ عَيْنِي. That my eyes have never seen anything or anyone as beautiful as you. وَأَجْمَلُ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدِ النِّسَاءُ. And no woman has ever given birth to anyone as beautiful as you. خُلِقْتَ مُبَرًّا مِنْ كُلِّ عَيْبٍ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you without any faults, without any defects, without any shortcomings. مُبَرًّا مِنْ كُلِّ عَيْبٍ خُلِقْتَ كَأَنَّ قَدْ خُلِقْتَ كَمَا تَشَاءُ. As if you were created the way you wish to be created. And then, Qamar, of course, is the moon, and he's drawing an analogy with the moon and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the moon is trying to imitate Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Jameel, beauty, is trying to imitate Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I'm going to ask Mujib, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Everyone please recite the Sharif. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammadin. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammadin wa ala وصحبه وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد. تو امیر حرم میں فقیر عجم. تو امیر حرم میں فقیر عجم. تیرے گن اور لب میں طلب ہی طلب. تو عطا ہی عطا میں خطا ہی خطا. تو عطا ہی عطا میں خطا ہی خطا تو کجا من کجا تو کجا من کجا تو امیر حرم میں فقیر عجم تو امیر حرم میں فقیر عجم تیرے گنر لب میں طلب ہی طلب میری خوش قسمتی میں تیرا امتی میری خوش قسمتی میں تیرا امتی تو جزا میں رضا تو کجا من کجا تو امیر حرم میں فقیر عجم تو امیر حرم میں فقیر عجم تیرے گنر لب میں طلب ہی طلب آنسوؤں کی زبان ہو میری ترجمن آنسوؤں کی زبان ہو میری ترجمن دل سے نکلے صدا تو کجا من کجا تو امیر حرم میں فقیر عجم تو امیر حرم میں فقیر عجم تیرے گنر لب میں طلب ہی طلب دوریاں سامنے سے جو ہٹنے لگی دوریاں سامنے سے جو ہٹنے لگی جالیوں سے نگاہیں لپٹنے لگی تو امیر حرم میں فقیر عجم تو امیر حرم میں فقیر عجم تیرے گنر لب میں طلب ہی طلب
Yeah, the poet here is kind of drawing a comparison, but not in the sense that, like some people these days, he was a human being like us. He's saying that, you're so exalted and elevated, and I'm so, I'm nothing. And this, as he was reciting, this kind of reminded me of Thoban radiallahu anhu, who became sick to the extent that he couldn't come to the masjid, and it was almost like he's about to die. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came to visit him, and he said, "What is wrong with you?" And he said, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this illness is not, because of some physical disease." He says, "But I was thinking that now here in this earth, whenever I get concerned, whenever I get worried, whenever I have any issues, whenever I want to, I can come and see you. But then I started thinking that if I go to Jannah, you will be in such a place and I will be down here. How will I see you? And that thought has made me so sick." And so this is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals the verse where he talks about those who obey Allah and his Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they will be with the Nabiyin, Siddiqeen, Shuhada, Salihin. So this was the concern of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that were constantly, they wanted to be with him constantly, wanted to be able to see him constantly. And even the thought of not being able to do that made them sick. So I'm going to ask Hasib to come and recite for us, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Everyone please recite with me, Dushif. And also please recite with me. This is the Qasida Burda, so please join. Ya Rabbi bil Mustafa balligh maqasidana waghfir lana ma madaya wasi'al karami maulaya salli wa sallim daiman abadan ala habibika khairil khalqi kullihim maulaya salli wa sallim daiman abadan ala habibika khairil khalqi kullihim. You are the prophet of Allah, you are a shining light, enlightening everyone's path and guiding them to the way. Mawlaya salli wa sallim daiman abadan ala habibika khairil khalqi kullihim. Mawlaya salli wa sallim daiman abadan ala habibika khairil khalqi kullihim. O Muhammad, may there be peace and blessings on you. May Allah grant you as promised the maqam of Muhammad. Mawlaya salli wa sallim daiman abadan ala habibika khairil khalqi kullihim. Mawlaya salli wa sallim daiman abadan ala habibika khairil khalqi kullihim. Look at the heavens, the earth, the shining sun and the moon. When Allah made everything, He made it all just for you. Mawlaya salli wa sallim daiman abadan ala habibika khairil khalqi kullihim. Mawlaya salli wa sallim daiman abadan ala habibika khairil khalqi kullihim. The Lord has sworn by the beauty of the curls
Yeah, so that was, I guess, a portion of Qasida Burda. Just a little bit of history on that. This was written by Imam Busiri in Egypt quite a ways back. He was partially paralyzed from a stroke, and he wrote this in this condition. And after he finished writing it, one night he sees Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his dream, asking him to recite this. Burda means sheet. And so he's reciting this, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives him his sheet. And when he wakes up from the dream, he has that sheet. And also when he wakes up from the dream, the paralysis is gone. So the next day he walks out, and this old person with this enlightened face comes to him and says that, recite Qasida Burda for me. And he says, well, I haven't written any Qasida by that name. He says, no, the one you recited to Rasulullah last night. Because Rasulullah is the one who named it Burda. He gave him his sheet. And so this is, and you know, one of the lines, of course, he read the English translation, so I don't have to translate it, which makes it easy. But one of the lines is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sworn by you, but in your various conditions. You only swear by the one you love. If somebody comes and, and swears by something that they don't care about, that swearing means nothing. You go to court and say, I swear by my enemy. What does that mean? It means nothing. That's why they have you swear by something they think means something to you. Of course, unfortunately, these days, nothing means anything to anybody. That's the world we're in now. But you swear by something that is close to you, that you love. And we look throughout the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly swearing by His Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam in various ways. One of the references there was like Wad-duha. They translate this, by the morning light. Duha is that time in the morning when the sun is up. You can see clearly, but it's not hot. It's still cool. That's Adha. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making this analogy to the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That whoever sees him, everything becomes clear to him, and there's this coolness to seeing him. And we know like Ya ayyuhal muzammil, Ya ayyuhal muddathir, and so many places. Even like Wat-tini wa-zaytun, wa tur sinin wa hadha al-balad al-amin. We translate by that he swears by the fig and by the olive, and by tur sinin, the Mount Sinai, and hadha al-balad al-amin, and by this city of safety. The reality is, Teen and Zaytun are the places of the fig and the places of the olive, which is the place of Ibrahim al-Islam and the place of the various other prophets of Bani Israel. And then, of course, Tur Sinin, Musa al-Salam, the place of Musa al-Salam. By this city means both Makkah and Medina. When Rasulullah was in Makkah, it means Makkah. When he was in Medina Munawwara, it means Medina Munawwara. Wherever he is. We have a guest, alhamdulillah, who's come from Auburn, and I'm going to ask him to come and recite for us as well, inshallah. Brother Mahfoud, who has come all the way from Auburn, and they will be having a program next week, inshallah, there. And I'll let him tell the details of that.
With this?
Yeah, both.
Oh, wait.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yeah, we are having a Melaad Sharif next week, and anybody from you wants to come, please come. It's about 1 hour and 40 minutes drive, close to Georgia and Auburn and the Alabama border. It's not that far. Just give me a minute to... I follow a silsila which is called Nisbat-e Rasuli. So while I'm pulling my naat, I do want to tell you something about what I have learned over time by following a sheikh who teaches us different azkars, which are Quranic azkar and according to ahadith, those are all authentic azkars, and what he has taught us is when you do zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what do you get end of the day by doing that? Of course, Allah loves zikr. Everybody knows that. Allah has said in Quran, يُسَبِّحُ لَهُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Everything in the universe is doing zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And zikr is what can get you close to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is called nisbat. You want to create a spiritual nisbat with your Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you do Allah's zikr. So in reward, He gives you that nisbat, where He connects you spiritually to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The analogy for that is just like there is a bulb. You guys see, there's a light in the bulb. Similarly, there is a bulb in your heart. Your heart is like a bulb. It gets light from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the light which was given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is what Noor is, the light. That is what you see in everywhere, in the stars and the galaxies and everywhere you see light. Where did that light come from? Is from the greatest prophet. Allah has blessed you to be his, ummah. The biggest reward. There has been Muslims before, but you are a Muslim, plus you are born as an ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is a very huge reward. Somehow we don't realize this. That how big is that? Many prophets have prayed to be an ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is one of the reasons Isa alayhi salam will come back, because his dua was accepted. That's why he's coming back as an ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is a big deal, but somehow we don't realize that. I will pray, recite a naad. It is in Farsi. I will translate a little bit. It's a short naad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Mawlana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sallim. نسیمہ جانب بطحا گزر کن نسیمہ جانب بطحا گزر کن ز احوالم محمد را خبر کن توئی سلطان عالم یا محمد توئی سلطان عالم یا محمد زیروے لطف سوئے من نظر کن زیروے لطف سوئے من نظر کن بے بری جانم مشتاقم درانجا بے بری جانم مشتاقم درانجا فدائے روضائے خیر البشر کن فدائے روضائے خیر البشر کن مشرف گرچہ شد جامی ز لطفاش مشرف گرچہ شد جامی ز لطفاش خدایا ای کرم بارے دیگر کن خدایا ای کرم بارے دیگر کن نسیمہ جانب بطحا گزر کن ز احوالم محمد را خبر کن صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم. So Hazrat Maulana Jami rahmatullah alayhi is a great philosopher. He is a great Sufi and a shair, a poet. He is from Afghanistan. He is saying, "Oh, Nasima means air. Go deliver my message to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you are the king of Alam, okay, Sultan. So look towards my condition, pay attention to my condition." And he is saying too that take my soul and sacrifice on the Roza Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Take my soul and sacrifice there. I want to take my soul and just sacrifice there on the Roza Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. and he is pleading to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give me this opportunity over and over again. This is what he's saying. He was a very like drowned into love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so much so Dr. Saab might be able to give you a story about him, that first time when he was visiting Medina Munawwara, the governor of Medina received a message in dream from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that stop this guy outside. He is entrenched into love so much, when he's gonna come here to do the salam, I will have to, personally deliver the jawab or the answer to him. He is so entrenched in my love. So just stop him. He stopped him for many days outside Medina. He was stopped just because of that. Thank you.
What time is the program there?
3 to 6.
3 to 6.
That's
Yeah.
Saturday Central Time, right?
Central Time.
Central
Yeah.
Time.
Okay.
Which will be 4 to 7.
7 here.
Yeah,
Okay.
4 to 7.
That's next Saturday?
Next Saturday. Yeah. I have sent the. You can post it on your.
Yeah. Inshallah. Sheikh Jami, just an ocean of love of Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as well as Ahlul Bayt, and you listen his poetry, in praise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and in praise of Ahlul Bayt, and just on and on and on. Well, maybe later I'll tell how he became the student of Ubaydullah Rah. But I'm going to ask Anybody else want to recite or not?
Assalamu alaikum. Everyone please share the issue. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammadin. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammadin wa ala وصحبه وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد हम मदीने से अल्लाह क्यों आ गए कल्ब हेरा की तस्की वहीं रह गई हम मदीने से अल्लाह क्यों आ गए कल्ब हेरा की तस्की वहीं रह गई दिल वहीं रह गया जा वहीं रह गई खम उसी दर पे अपनी जाबी रह गई अल्लाह अल्लाह سجود و قیام اللہ اللہ وہاں کا درود و سلام اللہ اللہ وہاں کا سجود و قیام اللہ اللہ وہاں کا وہ کیف دوام وہ صلاۃ سکونہ فری رہ گئی ہم مدینے سے اللہ کیوں آ گئے قلب حیرا کی تسکی وہی رہ گئی دل وہی رہ گیا جا وہی رہ گئی ہم اسی در پہ اپنی جبی رہ گئی جس جگہ سجدہ ریزی کی لذت ملی جس جگہ ہر قدم ان کی رحمت ملی جس جگہ سجدہ ریزی کی لذت ملی جس جگہ ہر قدم ان کی رحمت ملی جس جگہ نور رہتا ہے شام و سحر وہ فلک رہ گیا وہ زمین رہ گئی ہم مدینے سے اللہ کیوں آ گئے قلب حیرا کی تسکی وہی رہ گئی ہم مدینے سے اللہ کیوں آ گئے قلب حیرا کی تسکی وہی رہ گئی دل وہی رہ گیا جا وہی رہ گئی ہم اسی در پہ اپنی جبی رہ گئی
Jazakallah khair. These were the words of someone who's gone to Medina Munawwara and then come back. And he's asking, oh Allah, why did I leave? Or how did I leave? Because my peace and serenity is left there. My heart is still there. My life is still there. And for those who've gone, those who've gone for Hajj or for Umrah, in Makkah it's Jalal. And even now, with all of the things that they've done, the Jalal. But when you go to Medina Munawwara, it's the Jamal and the Sakina, it's the peace and the beauty. And it's just a very, very different feeling. Even the people are different. The way they deal with you, the way they talk to you. Again, you're in Mecca and you ask somebody some question, and it's blah, 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 just whatever. And you go to Medina Munawwara, and you ask for directions, and they'll literally take your hand and walk you to wherever you need to go. Just the place itself. But the place itself isn't the place itself. The place itself is because of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so that's basically what the poet is talking about. How did I leave? Why did I leave? Because true life is still there. My life is there. My heart is there. My peace and serenity is there. Inshallah, in about 13 minutes or so, we'll give the adhan for Maghrib. But in the meantime, those who need to make wudu, go ahead and make wudu. I'm going to ask Mujib to come and recite again for us, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Everyone please recite the Shaykh. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammadin. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammadin. ہر وقت تصور میں مدینے کی گلی ہو، ہر وقت تصور میں مدینے کی گلی ہو، یاد محمد کی میرے دل میں بسی ہو. اے کاش میں بن جاؤں مدینے کا مسافر، کاش میں بن جاؤں مدینے کا مسافر، پھر روتی ہوئی طیبہ کو بارات چلی ہو، پھر روتی ہوئی طیبہ کو بارات چلی ہو، ہر وقت تصور میں مدینے کی گلی ہو. آقا کا گدا ہوں اے جہنم تو بھی سن لے، آقا کا گدا ہوں اے جہنم تو بھی سن لے، وہ کیسے جلے جو کہ غلام مدنی ہو، وہ کیسے جلے جو کہ غلام مدنی ہو، ہر وقت تصور میں مدینے کی گلی ہو، یاد محمد کی میرے دل میں بسی ہو. اے کاش مدینے میں مجھے موت یوں آئے، کاش مدینے میں مجھے موت یوں آئے، قدموں میں تیرے سر ہو میری روح چلی ہو، قدموں میں تیرے سر ہو میری روح چلی ہو، ہر وقت تصور میں مدینے کی گلی ہو، یاد محمد
से जो तो जन्नत ही मिलेगी आका की शिफात से तो जन्नत ही मिलेगी काश के कदमों में जगह उनकी मिली हो काश के कदमों में जगह उनकी मिली हो हर वक्त तस्वुर में मदीने की गली हो याद मुहम्मद की मेरे दिल में बसी हो हर वक्त तस्वुर में मदीने की गली हो याद मुहम्मद की मेरे दिल में बसी हो Jazakallah khair. In this one, the poet is somewhat along the same lines, but saying that that my thought constantly should be in Medina with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he also, is making several requests. I mean, this is a dua to Allah that, and one of those was that, may my head be at the feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah, and you take my soul. Allah takes my soul. And when we look, during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were those who got this honor. In the Battle of Badr, Ubaydullah bin Harith, the cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's one of the martyrs, and Ali picked him up and brought him to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and laid his head on the thigh of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was wounded. He said, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will I be among the martyrs?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "Then perhaps the poem of Hazrat Abu Talib is for me, where he said that, we will die or give our lives, but we will not give up Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam." And then in the Battle of Uhud, when Quraysh are raining down arrows, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he announces, "Who is willing to die for me?" And the Ansar stood up. 7 of the Ansar, they stood up, and one by one, catching the arrows on their backs, facing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, until they could stand no longer, and then they would fall. And the last one of them is Zayd bin Sukhan. When he falls, there's a conversation going on between the eyes, with the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam orders the companions, and you have to understand, you have to be able to try to imagine the situation. Arrows are raining down, and this person who has fallen is fallen because he can't stand anymore because of the physics of all of these arrows, 100 arrows in his back. His back, his legs, everywhere. And he falls, and he's still looking at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling the companions, "Bring him to me." And so, in that condition, they go and they bring him to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and place his face on the blessed feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is how he passes. So that's one of the dua that the poet is making, that Allah, one is that I should be able to go there and be there, and when my life is taken, then my head should be at his feet. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm going to. We got 3 minutes before Adhan. Reciting salawat on Rasulullah ﷺ is something that we should constantly be doing. It should be second nature for us, because there's so many blessings, and we know that for every one who sends salam on Rasulullah ﷺ, that your ranks are raised 10 degrees, and you're written 10 good deeds, and 10 bad deeds are wiped away, and all of these things. But this is business. We should be doing this because of our connection to Him. And for the true lover, He Himself responds. He Himself listens and responds. So we should constantly, even when we're doing our work and doing everything all day long, our hearts, should always be there. And this is also one of the dua that was made in this naat as well. That constant connection. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to attain at least a taste of that. And so. Well, everybody, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli. Well, we're waiting on the muadhin to come and call the adhan, inshallah. He's here.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya ala as-salah. Hayya ala as-salah. Hayya ala al-falah. Hayya ala al-falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah, ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah. Hayla salat, hayla salah, hayla falah, hayla falah. Qamatu salah, qamatu salah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. In the rows, leaving no gaps, inshallah. Everything can shift a little bit.
Room in the back is
There's room in the back, so probably good. Yeah, that way if somebody comes, then they can join easier. Everyone good? Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. الله أكبر.
سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم انت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا ربنا تقبل الدعاء. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Just a reminder about the parking. Of course, we have the parking around here, which isn't much. The lady across the street allows us to park over there in on her property. So that's fine to park, but just make sure that you're not blocking anything. So anybody who's in there can be able to get out. And then there's the property on this side over here, which is owned by the center. So that's our property. And nothing's paved or anything, but you can get in there from the Chapel Street side. So if you go, you can get in there and park over there if you need to. But try not to block anybody either way. I mean, if there's no place, then parking on the street is legal, so long as you're parking in the direction of traffic. So, because that's always an issue. Two things, that are a big issue wherever Muslims go: parking and bathrooms, which is sad because I remember when I was a kid in the 70s, Georgia Tech used to allow the Muslims to use the student center to make Eid Salat and Jummah Salat. And then after a while they said, no way. Because go and just make a mess of the bathrooms. And they just said, no more. And we're supposed to be the cleanest people. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came, he told us that half of our faith is, half our iman is cleanliness, physical and spiritual. So, and they go hand in hand. So, you know, we need to take lessons from these, and we should also be very organized in the sense that punctual, as well as, you know, kind of making sure that we're not treading on anybody else's rights. So, you know, Allah guide us, inshallah. Have some competition. I'll, inshallah, we'll get started. As I said, knots were from Asr to Maghrib, and then, so now is the, I guess, the top time. Inshallah. Yes.
Do you mind introducing yourself to us?
Introduction, I'm Mahmoud. Some people know me as Rizwan. You know, background's a little different. You know, for those, most of the people here know us. You know, we came here in 1970 to Griffin. So I was 2, and that should tell you my age. But you know, my father taught here for 29 years, math and science, 8th grade. He actually came to University of Georgia in Athens to do his PhD in physics. Had a argument with his major professor over religion, and the professor started sabotaging him and his friends. So he realized, well, this isn't going to work out. So he finished another master's degree, and then we ended up in Griffin because there was no other place to go. That's a long story, but we ended up in Griffin. This is what Allah chose for us. Alhamdulillah. So I graduated from Griffin High when there was only Griffin High. There wasn't a Spalding High then, as 86. And then from there, Georgia Tech. So bachelor's in electrical engineering, and did my pre-med with that. So I ended up technically with a minor in chemistry, but they didn't start giving minors in chemistry at Tech until the quarter after I graduated. And then straight from there to Augusta Medical College of Georgia. While I was at Tech, I also joined the Yellow Jacket Flying Club, so I ended up getting my private pilot license. Haven't flown after a certain date. Not smart for someone looking like me going to an airport. And then in Augusta, you know, medical college, and then residency in internal medicine. While I was there, I also got my black belt. Actually, my first teacher, martial arts teacher, mine and my brother's, is Imam Furqan, actually right here, after Fajr Salat. He would teach us. And then unfortunately he moved away. And that was when I was, I guess, 9. And so anyway, so then I came back. So I've been back since I finished residency. As far as the religious background, basically tutelage under my father and his sheikh. So his peer or murshid was Sayyid Muhammad Yusuf Ali Sulaimani, Chishtiya Silsila, and his sheikh was Allah Bakhsh Tonsvi Rahmatullahi, who is the grandson and the Khalifa of Sulaiman Tonsvi Rahmatullahi. So anyone who knows much about the Chishtiya Silsila, when you get to that point, they know. And then also the shuyukh that they connected us with, mainly of the Qadriya Silsila. As far as my father's sheikh, he had ijazah from many. When he was 88 years old, he was sitting down and talking, and he said, you know, when you listen to me, just imagine a person 1,088 years old talking to you. He said, I have 10 shuyukh who were all a century or older, who gave him ijazah. Because this is something that goes from chest to chest to chest. So that's my background, which, really isn't anything compared to those who taught us. You look at Islam, and before I start talking, you look at Islam, the pioneers of all of the sciences, whether it's biology, astronomy, physics, anatomy, medicine, science, the scientific principle itself comes from Muslim scholars. And all of them connect back to Sayyidina Ali, karamallahu wajh. Maghrib पढ़नी अगर जगह कर लो मगरिब पढ़नी जाकर तुम इधर आ जाओ इन लोगों को उधर पढ़ेंगे मगरिब पढ़नी You pray? نحمده ونصلي على رسول النبي الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قال الله تعالى في شان حبيبي إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه صلاة وسلاما عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Normally when I come and talk, I have an outline in my head. This year's been a little different. I went one place and I didn't know what I was going to talk about until after I was listening to some of the Naat, and one of the brothers said something, so I said, well, that's what I'll talk about. It was easy there because everyone there weren't a lot of people, but everyone there had a decent background, so I could cover a lot of things in 20 minutes. Last year when we spoke, for those who remember, I kind of went over the purpose of the hereafter, which connects us back to the aspect of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam being hadir or nadir. And we talked about the various verses that connect that. And even last Friday, for those who were here, we spoke about the last two verses of Surah SAWW. And even that, points us in that same direction. This year, like I said, the outlines are kind of vague, so you'll probably hear me ramble. It's interesting because, whenever Rabiul Awwal comes around, and you look at the Muslim world, pretty much everyone's talking about the Mawlid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have those whose aqidah is proper, who celebrate the Mawlid properly, and so you have them on one side. And then you have those who also celebrate the Mawlid and they say Ya Rasulullah and all of these things, but if you look at their aqidah, they're always trying to downplay the significance of Ahlul Bayt. And then you also have those who, whenever Rabiul Awwal comes around, the first khutbah they're giving is, this is shirk and bid'ah and haram. And anyone who does this is like celebrating Valentine's and Easter and Christmas and whatever else. You know. But the interesting thing is that they're still talking about it. Yeah. And then you have those that are sort of termed as the progressive imams these days, after the progressive politicians, which basically is more of the same, who try to play this middle card. If you look at them and if you hear them, you know, their English is very good. The spoken English is very good. You know, they're very fluent in Arabic. And they use this to attract people, which is natural. Because, you know, like even in the Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands Musa alayhi salam to go and give da'wah to Fir'aun, what does he do? He asks that, oh Allah, send with me Harun. Because Musa alayhi salam had burnt his tongue when he was an infant, so some of the words didn't come out right. And Fir'aun actually would make fun of this. So he said, send with me Harun, because this is the natural thing. If someone talks good, you kind of listen to them. This is also the excuse that was used against Bilal, radiallahu anhu. And if you know, when Makkah was conquered, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he ordered Bilal radiallahu anhu to climb the Kaaba, go on top of the Kaaba and call the adhan. Bilal radiallahu anhu quickly climbed up, but then when he climbs up, he starts thinking, he says, normally when I call the adhan, I face the Kaaba, the Qibla. So he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, which way do I face? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, face me. He is the Qibla of the Kaaba. So of course Bilal calls the adhan. But Bilal, his native tongue was not Arabic. He was Abyssinian. And in his language, there was no sheen. So he couldn't pronounce the sheen. His whole life, he could never pronounce the sheen. So ashhadu wasn't ashhadu, it was ashadu. You know, it's sort of like the joke, you know, the Arab, he comes to America and he's driving around and he asks the police officer, can I bark here? And the police officer tells him, well, you can bark anywhere you want to, this is a free country. So after he parks there, he gets a ticket. You know, because in Arabic there is no pa, there's no p sound. So that's why when you listen to a lot of Arabs who just learned English, you know, there's no P, it's everything is B. You know, Pepsi becomes Bebsi. So, you know, similar situation with Bilal. You know, again, his mother tongue, no sheen. He calls the adhan, there's no sheen sound. So those who had just become Muslim after Fatih Makkah, some of them complained. Ya Rasulullah, you know, there were other undertones to it. But they said, you know, you can't even pronounce the words right. So the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, fine, you do it. He's telling them to do it because he wants to show the maqam of Bilal. So one of them, he goes and he calls the adhan. Perfect pronunciation. Beautiful voice, carries well, everything that you would want in an adhan. And what happens? Time stops. Jibreel alayhi salam comes down and he says, Ya Rasulullah, no adhan? What happened? He said, there was adhan, but there was not Bilal. He says, when Bilal calls it, we hear it. We, the angels, we hear it. Why? because of his connection to Rasulullah, because of his love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That overshadowed, overwhelmed everything else. I mean, you think about it, he can't even make the sheen properly, so what about all the other rules of tajweed? Not that trying to pronounce it properly isn't important, it is important. But there are prerequisites to that as well. So people get caught up in somebody talking eloquently without analyzing what is really said. You know, so when you listen to the undertone, their undertone is always against this. But, you know, they try to play this middle card. You know, which is interesting because when you read Surah Araf, so in Surah Araf, you know, we see the discussion between Allah and Shaitan as he's being kicked out. So, you know, when he refuses to prostrate, to make sajda to Adam, alayhi salam, which in reality is the sajda of the nur that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed within Adam, alayhi salam. So when he refuses this, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you know, okay, time to get out. You're arrogant. And he says, gives me respite. He says, fine, I give you respite. And then he says, فَبِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي لَأَقْعُدَنَّ لَهُمْ صِرَاطَكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. Because you have misguided me, I will lie in wait for them on Sirat al-Mustaqim. Which is interesting. You know, what do we ask for in every salat? Every time we recite Surah Fatiha, Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. So Allah, give us the straight path. Shaitan says what? I'm going to lie on them, for them. Where? On the straight path. You know, if you read the Quran, you'll find that Allah is also on Sirat al-Mustaqim. But He is on Sirat al-Mustaqim as the objective of Sirat al-Mustaqim. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is also on Sirat al-Mustaqim. But He is on Sirat al-Mustaqim as the guide to this path. And Shaitan is also on Sirat al-Mustaqim. But he's on Sirat al-Mustaqim to divert people away from this path. You know, when you go hunting, like you go deer hunting, you go to a piece of property, you look for signs, and one of the main signs you look for is trails. What path are the deer taking? And that's where you set up, because you know they'll be coming by. Shaitan knows where the believers will be. This is where he lies in wait. But then he says, ثُمَّ لَآتِيَنَّهُم مِّن بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ وَعَنْ أَيْمَانِهِمْ وَعَنْ شَمَائِلِهِمْ وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرَهُمْ شَاكِرِينَ. He says that I will come at them from in front of them, from behind them, from their right and from their left. 360-degree circle net. The only way out is up or down. That we ask for help from Allah and we humble ourselves before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the only way out. Everything else is part of the net. And this is what we see, and this is what has become so prevalent, you know, amongst this social media and YouTube and everything else. Yeah. So that's why you get those that are totally blatantly against it, and then you get those that kind of act like they're in between, because you got to be part of the net. And then you also get those who say, no, this is fine, but then they do other things that are not fine. But his last statement is interesting. وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ شَاكِرِينَ. I'm going to come back to this point later on, inshallah, and if I forget, remind me. Okay? And you will not find most of them grateful. He doesn't say that you will find most of them ungrateful. And there's a huge difference here. He says you will not find most of them grateful. I get people sending me videos, and and I'll look at the video, and then I ask them, what questions do you have about this video? And they say, oh no, I just wanted you to look at it before I looked at it. Well, thanks for wasting 30 minutes of my time. So I got one of these videos a while back, and the title of the video was Before Celebrating Melaad Nabi. And it was one of these progressive guys who, part of his talk on this is that he says he's talking about this with the undertone that, see, there are 5 sciences that deal with Rasulullah or look at Rasulullah in Islam. Yeah. And so you have Sirah, which is the history, and he gives a couple of examples of that. And then you have Shama'il, which is the character, the characteristics, the likes and dislikes of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then you have Dalail, which are the proofs of his prophethood. Then you have Fadail, which is virtues, but these are the virtues that separate him from the other prophets. And then you have Khasais, which is things that are exclusive to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he gives examples of each, but the undertone of all of this is that, you people who celebrate Mawlid, you don't even know these, which is interesting because these are the exact things that we talk about in the Mawlid. The difference is that when we talk about these things, we don't talk about them in isolation or as a thing. Yeah. We talk about them in relation to the azma, to the honor, to the status and maqam of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because if I look at Sirah, Sirah is simply what happened and when it happened. The history. But if you pick up any book of Sirah, any traditional book of Sirah, doesn't matter whether it's Tabari or Ibn Ishaq or Ibn Hisham or Ibn Athir or Ibn Kathir or Ibn anybody else, all of them talk about the events that happened at the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The birth announcement that Allah made at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He talks about birth announcements in the Quran about the various other prophets and even about those that aren't prophets. Read the Quran and he talks about the birth announcement of Bibi Maryam alayhi salam. About the things that happened at the time of her birth. He talks about the things that happened at the time of the birth of Isa alayhi salam, of Yahya alayhi salam, of Ibrahim alayhi salam, of Musa alayhi salam. And all of these, people that he loves. So it's unusual for us to think that he's going to not make any announcement at the time of the birth of his Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is a huge difference though. If we look at the birth announcements made like for Isa alayhi salam, We know from the Quran and from the Sunnah of Rasulullah some various things that happened at the time of the birth of Isa alayhi salam. We know more than what the Christians know. But all of those things were local. They were for that time and for that period and for that area, for the people that he was sent to. Same thing with Musa alayhi salam. We know about how Pharaoh was trying to kill him and all of the things that happened and what his mother did. But again, they were local things. When we look at the birth announcement for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's not just global, it's universal. And that was the interesting thing about this guy, was that he acknowledged these things to be sahih. That you have more than true muhaddithin, scholars, traditional scholars of hadith, who say no, they're correct. Even though if you read the modern history books or seerah books of Rasulullah, when they talk about these things, they say, oh, this has no basis, which of course is not true. We look at, some of the things that happened. 14 pillars in the castle of Isra fall. And from the time of the birth of Rasulullah to the time of the end of Qisra, of the Qisras, of the Persian Empire, how many were left? 14. The fire that had been lit for 1,000 years suddenly goes out. Huge lake of SAWW suddenly goes dry. Other rivers now that were dry are flowing. So many things that are happening globally. Spring comes globally at the same time. The jinn can no longer go up and listen to the conversations of the angels. They can no longer sit in the idols and talk. If you read Surah Jinn and the background to Surah Jinn, you'll understand this. All of kufr, all of disbelief has been given an announcement that the Nur has come, Rasulullah SAW has come, and now your time is ending. So many other things, all at the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As we spoke about yesterday and Friday, Shifa, Shifa, who is the mother of Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu, as she is leaving the house, she was one of the midwives at the time of the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As she is leaving, the donkeys and the animals are congratulating each other, and she is listening to this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given her the ears to be able to listen to this because of her connection now with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they're congratulating each other that, before the prophets came and they gave the rights of the people, but now the one who will give us our rights has come. Because he's not just the prophet to the people. He is the Nabi to all of creation. He is the Rasul to all of creation. Animate or inanimate. Everything. And so the announcements that are made at the time of Rasulullah are universal to everything. Disbelief is put on alert. The warning has been given, sounded. And those who have been waiting for him are overjoyed that he is now here. The interesting thing is that when we look at our seerah, our history, it begins when we are born. Right? Somebody starts writing a biography of anybody. How do they start? They talk about the birth and they go on from there, if they know about anything. So when he writes his autobiography, he talks about who his parents were and how he was born, and then goes on. The seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam doesn't start with his birth. The seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam starts before time even began. The hadith is in Musannaf Abdul Razak. Abdul Razak is amongst the teachers of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, who is amongst the teachers of Imam Bukhari. So he is the grand teacher of Bukhari. And when Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu asked him what was the first creation of Allah, he says, Nur Nabiyaka. The nur, the light of your Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are many people today who say, no, the qalam was first. There's a hadith in Bukhari where again the same or similar question. They say the same question, but it's not really the same question. A similar question is asked, and Rasulullah says qalam. But if you continue with the hadith, if you look at the hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also tells us that when the qalam was created, it was ordered to write, uktub, write. It asked, what shall I write? And Allah says, write what is to happen, and everything that is to happen, and everything that has already happened. So if there was nothing that had already happened before the qalam, then why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordering it to write everything that has already happened? It tells you that something happened before. So from this we understand that the question isn't what was the absolute first. Because in the other hadith, when Rasulullah says that Nur Nabiyaka, he says then from that nur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created 4 nur. And from those 4 nur were amongst the qalam, the law, the tablet, and the kursi, the arsh. So the question is, what was first amongst those? Then the qalam is first amongst those. But the absolute first is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is interesting because you also find this in the previous books. This is why in Surah Ma'idah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as Nur, the verse starts off with Ya Ahlul Kitab, and it talks about their books, because in their books in Genesis, what is the opening statement? God said, let there be light, and there was light. Who is that light? The light is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That kind of shifts into a different topic, which is connected. But the nur, or this Nur Nabiyaka being the first, so when was this? This is like the question of Jabir radiallahu again. He says, Ya Rasulullah, when was prophethood conveyed upon you? And he says what? The hadith is in Bukhari and various other books, texts. He says, I was already a prophet when Adam al-Islam was between clay and water. What does that mean? That means that the ingredients to make Adam al-Islam had not even been made yet. And he was already given prophethood, Nabuwah. When? We don't know. It's like somebody asked me, he says, when were you born? And I said, I was already born by 1970. Doesn't really answer the question. Because, there's a lot before 1970. Here, Rasulullah is asked when, but he doesn't answer the question because the question can't be answered. When implies time. He was created before time. Time is also a creation of Allah. So he was the first, so he is created before time. He was conveyed, prophethood was conveyed upon him before time. You can't answer the question. It's an impossible question. So So he answered it simply to give Jabir radiallahu an idea. When we look at the Shama'il of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this includes his description. You know, like the description that Ma'bad radiallahu anha gave of him, the description that Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajh gave of him. And if you read the descriptions, you know, all they describe is perfection and beauty. So all they describe is beauty and perfection. Because he is the beauty of perfection, and he is the perfection of beauty. I mean, that's really all we can say. And even that doesn't do justice. There are no words that we can use that really describe him. Language is limited. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is unlimited. And he has created his Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam unlimited. And for those who understand math, because some people, you know, oh, this is shirk. Everything is shirk to them. Anyone who has any concept of math, they understand that one infinite set can be larger than another infinite set. Intuitively, it's very easy to show. And if someone wants to discuss that with me later, I'm not going to take time with that right now. But when we look at his dalail, the proofs of his prophethood, if you look at any book written about the proofs of the prophethood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, two things that they all have in common that they talk about. They talk about his knowledge, not so much in saying knowledge, and I'll come back to this point, and they talk about his miracles. Of course, every breath of his is a miracle. But all of these things, because whenever a prophet came, and this is general for all the prophets, and they declared their prophethood, what did the people say? They said, give us proof. Give us proof. So what would they give as proof? They would show something that was impossible. And those who believed said, this is the doing of the Prophet under the authority of Allah. This is the authority that Allah has given this Prophet. And those who disbelieved, they said, this is nothing but magic. Hocus pocus. An illusion. We see similar thing with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when we look at miracles, you have three categories. Those in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does something on behalf of someone, but that person even doesn't realize that it's because of them. You have those that the one that they're being done for knows, but they have no control over it. Simple example of this is the Maryam salamullah alayha. When Zakaria al-Islam forgets and locks her in the room. 3 days later, he remembers, he comes running, and what does he find? Fruit out of season. And he says, where did this come from? And she says, from Allah. But she had no control over that. Whatever Allah gave her. But then you have those miracles that are done by someone where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them the authority. Whenever you want to do it, do it. When you don't want to do it, don't do it. And we see this again in the situation with Maryam alayhi salam. When Isa alayhi salam is being born, And she wants to eat something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, shake the tree. She wants to drink something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, hit the ground. You know, this was a promotion for her. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given her the authority. Whenever you want to eat, do this. When you want to drink, do this. Because before, she had the love of one prophet in her heart, Zakaria alayhi salam, her uncle. And now she has the love of two prophets in her heart, Zakaria alayhi salam, her uncle, and her son Isa alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives her a promotion. When we look at the miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the vast majority of them fall under this authority, where Allah says, do what you want. We see this in the Quran. Allah says, do what you want. وَمَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. Whatever this messenger gives you, accept it, and whatever he says to refrain from it. This is authority. You know, the moon, he raises his hand, it goes into two. He calls the sun back for Ali, Karramallahu wajh. Which is funny because there is a guy these days who's very popular in the certain circles who says, yeah, you know, I believe that the moon was split in two, but Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had nothing to do with it. And then he quotes the verse, in the brilliance of these people, he quotes the verse of Surah Qamar. You know, the first verse, if you look at the very first verse of Surah Qamar, which is the only one he quotes, that the hour has come and the moon has split. He says, see, this is just a sign of the hour Allah gave. And of course, the next verse, very next verse says, you know, that when they see the signs, they say, oh, this is nothing but magic. Why would they say that it's magic if it was simply a natural phenomenon? You know, earthquake happens, no one says, oh, this is magic. You don't say it's magic unless you're attributing it to someone else. So even the kuffar of Quraysh knew that this was the doing of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this guy, claiming to be Muslim, doesn't acknowledge that. But you know, we could go on and on about the miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But then we look at, you know, his prophecies. And this gets back to his knowledge. You know, and a lot of those who listen to me, they know that it's one of my pet peeves. You know, because there are guys who say, oh, he predicted this. He predicted that. You know, it's fine if the average person says that. You know. But when a Yale PhD is saying, oh, he predicted this and he predicted that, I have issues with that. You know, prediction is calculation. You know, it's working on probabilities. Like the weatherman predicts the weather based on, okay, this is what's going on, so this is what probably will happen. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never predicted anything. He told us this is what's going to happen. And it's interesting when we look at his prophecies, you know, because people say, oh, you know, Nostradamus was a prophet. You know, here are these people around here, oh, he was a prophet. He prophesied this and that. And you read his prophecies and they say absolutely nothing. It's just mumbo jumbo like a horoscope. You know, oh, something vague. And you can interpret it any way you want to. You know, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said something, it was very specific. Things that have already happened, things that are happening now, and things that will happen. You know, when he talked about the Khawarij and Ali radhiyallahu fighting against the Khawarij, what did he say? He said, not even 10 of Ali radhiyallah's men will be martyred, and not even 10 of theirs will survive. And exactly that happened. You know, and this gets on, we could talk about how Ali radhiyallahu, everything he did was under the order of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, prophecies that we're seeing today. He said that a man will leave the house and keep in touch with his family from his hip. Where do you keep your phone? On your hip. You know, because in Arabic you can, because again, he's talking to people who had no concept of a phone. So he needs to make sure that they understand, but then later people should have an easier time to understand too. But in Arabic you can call something by what it's attached to. You know, he talked about shoes talking. And Nike came out with a shoe that it'll tell you how far you walked. All of these things that we see and the fitna of the Dajjal that we see around us, he already told us all of this. And not in vague terms, but in very specific terms. How did he know, other than he is the messenger of Allah? SAWW. You know, when we look at the fadail, the virtues of Rasulullah, SAWW, you know, simple one example to understand his virtues. You know, brother had mentioned earlier, you know, all the prophets had asked to be from his ummah. All of them prayed for this. Musa al-Islam is the only one who verbalized it loudly. All the others asked for it. All of their du'as were accepted in the night of Miraj. They literally are truly from his ummah anyway, because he is the Rasul of the Rasuls. He is the prophet of the prophets. He is Sayyidul Anbiya. He is the master and leader of all of the prophets. They are his lieutenants. They came to pave the way for his coming, to get the people ready for when he comes, that they will be able to accept him easily. That was their only purpose. And when he comes on the night of Miraj, why did he have to go to Jerusalem? You know, the purpose of the trip was La Makan. Why are you going to take a detour? Masjid al-Aqsa is the place of judgment. This is the court of Allah. So when you have an official sign over of power, it needs to be done in the court. So he goes there and all of them come. Every prophet came. Most of them from their graves or wherever they are. Idris al-Islam came from Jannah. Isa al-Islam came from the second heaven. हादी बिलाल को इधर ले आओ. And you're competing with me, man. And why they come? To show all of creation their humility in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because of the promise that they had made to Allah in Surah Al Imran, verse 81, and this is a verse that anyone who's been here knows we keep going back to over and over and over again. So he's going to compete with me now. وَإِذَا أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ النَّبِيِّينَ لَمَا آتَيْتُكُم مِّن كِتَابٍ وَحِكْمَةٍ ثُمَّ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مُصَدِّقٌ لِّمَا مَعَكُمْ لَتُؤْمِنُنَّ بِهِ وَلَا تَنصُرُنَّهُ قال أقررتم وأخذتم على ذلك مصري قالوا أقررنا قال فاشهدوا وأنا معكم من الشاهدين. And remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding his Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as we keep saying, you remind the one who was already there. The one who was a witness to the event is the one you remind. You tell the one who wasn't there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding, and it's interesting a lot, when you look at translations, some places they will translate wa'idh as remind, but then other places, and behold. It's not convenient for them, and then it becomes, behold. Remember when Allah took the covenant from the prophets, that they will be given a book and the wisdom, and then comes to you this exalted messenger, Rasulun, who affirms or confirms what was with you. Do you help him? Do you believe in him and give him help? And they said yes. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, be a witness over yourselves, and I am a witness over you all. Allah is the witness. So they came to fulfill that oath, that promise that they had taken. And here in this verse, again, they are given prophethood, and the Rasulullah is being shown to them as the Rasul. And I'll end this part with the khasais, the exclusive, because I'm not doing justice to anything here, but just kind of giving a taste of things. The exclusive things about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And of course, that person that I was talking about, when he mentioned this, the only thing that these people can think of is that, he didn't have a limit on the number of wives he could have. That's the only thing they can think of. There's so many other things that are exclusive for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of which is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him his own names. Everybody knows about Rauf and Rahim. But even Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in reality the name of Allah. Because in every salat we say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise is Allah. The praise, not all, but the praise is for Allah, Lord of the worlds. What are the derivatives of Hamd? Hamid, Mahmud, Ahmad, Muhammad. All of these are the names of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad, what? The one who is, praised in excess, excessively praised. Of course, there's no way to excessively praise Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What is our praise going to do to him or do for him? Nothing. He's not in need of us. For us, 5 pillars, right? Iman, Salat, Zakat, fasting, Hajj, right? For Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 4. Zakat was an impossibility for him. Some people think that, he didn't have enough. He had plenty. Allah gave him everything. Everything is his. But what is the condition of zakat? Zakat, I give my zakat to someone, and once I give it, it's out of my jurisdiction. I have no authority or control over it anymore. That's why I can't give zakat to my son. Because whatever is my son's is mine. When there was slavery, the master could not give zakat to the slave. Because again, it hasn't left his jurisdiction. When I give zakat, I have no authority, no control over it. Whoever I've given it to, it becomes his, and he can do whatever he wants to with it. Who is Rasulullah going to give anything to where it's out of his jurisdiction? Everything is under his jurisdiction. It's an impossibility for him. You know, Ali never gave zakat because whatever came in the day, he gave by the end of the day. That's a different category. For Rasulullah, impossibility. For us, 5 daily salat are fard. For him, 6. And this was also because of his own desire. Many things that are not fard on us are not fard on us because he didn't make them fard. And there are many things that are obligatory on us because he made them obligatory. This is his authority. Mukhtar Kul. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Authority over everything. So for him, 6 salat. Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and Tahajjud was fard on him. But out of his mercy to us, he didn't make it fard on us. Because he knows us. I'm going to end this part here, because I don't want things dragging on too long. People get tired, which is human. Unfortunately, we get very tired when we're listening to things like this, which is not human. This is our weakness. But I'm going to shift gears here. No place, no time has any significance by itself, other than when it's connected to one of those who Allah loves. Nothing has any significance except because of its connection. And we see this throughout the Quran. You know, in Surah Baqarah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about Tabut al-Sakina, the Ark of the Covenant. You know, in the Ark of the Covenant, you know, we know that it contains within it, you know, the blessed shoes of Musa alayhi salam, you know, the shoes of Harun alayhi salam, various belongings of Musa alayhi salam, various belongings of Harun alayhi salam. And whenever Bani Israel would go to war, they would place that in front of them and they would make dua to Allah, and Allah would respond to their dua and give them victory. Whenever they had any difficulty, they would place that in front of them and they would make dua to Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would respond to their dua, and their difficulties would be alleviated. When Jalut, Goliath, he took the ark. He captured the Ark of the Covenant, but then he released it. He released it because he was disrespectful to it, and because he was disrespectful to it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed 7 of his well-populated cities. Just annihilated them. Simply because he was disrespectful to this ark, this box. This, which is what it was, is a box with certain things in it. And those things are connected to the ones Allah loves. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the ark, the box itself, he doesn't mention the belongings of Musa or the belongings of Harun alayhi salam. When he talks about its significance, he simply says, وَبَقِيَةٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ آلُ مُوسَى وَآلُ هَارُونَ. That within it are the remnants of the family of Musa and the family of Harun. Not even, you know, so he is pointing out the significance of simply the belongings of the family of Musa and the family of Harun, not even Musa and Harun themselves. we see in Surah Yusuf, and Surah Yusuf also explains to us how the soul of the believer is pulled out, why it's so easy when he dies. Because we see when Zulaykha, the wife of Aziz in Misr, when she's being accused of trying to seduce this slave boy. What's she doing? This high-ranking official's wife. What does she do? She invites all these friends, gives them each a knife and fruit, and then she has Yusuf al-Islam stand behind a curtain. She removes the curtain, and as they're cutting the fruit, what do? They cut their hands, and they say, oh, this isn't a human, this is some angel from high. And they cut their hands and don't even realize it. Why? Because they're so absorbed in his beauty. The coming of Rasulullah has changed the flavor of death. Because at the time of the death of the believer, he is seeing a Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he is anticipating seeing him in the grave. But in Surah Yusuf, we also see that, when the sons of Yaqub al-Islam came, after many years, and then they realize, and Yusuf al-Islam exposes himself to them. And of course, Yaqub al-Islam has lost his sight from crying because of the separation between him and Yusuf. Not because he thought he was dead. We know he knew he was alive. We know that from the Quran itself, the wording of the Quran. But just the separation. What does Yusuf al-Islam say to them? He says, he pulls off his shirt and he says, take this to my father and place it over his eyes, and he will become seeing again. And when the shirt leaves Misr, Egypt, for Canaan, Yaqub al-Islam there is saying that I smell the fragrance of Yusuf. But you will call me crazy. You will say, oh, he's lost his mind. And what happens when the shirt comes and they place this over his face? Immediately he starts to see again. Why? Because of that connection. This is the shirt of Yusuf alayhi salam. Who received his beauty from Rasulullah. Yusuf alayhi salam was given half of the beauty of creation. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the beauty of creation. It's not like, oh, he got half and everybody else got a little piece, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is only left with a little bit. Astaghfirullah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the beauty of creation, period. So if this is the condition of the shirt of Yusuf, the shirt that touched Yusuf al-Islam, what is the condition of the shirt of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So this is, why after him, the mother of the believers, the wife of Rasulullah, Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha, used to keep his shirt. And whenever anyone was sick in Medina Munawwara, they would come to her with some water, and she would pour it on the shirt and then drench the water out, and they would drink the water and be healed because of their love. But this is also authority of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because when he gave his shirt, which was the outside shirt, to Abdullah ibn Ubay, the leader of the hypocrites, and Umar radiallahu anhu said, Ya Rasulullah, what are you doing? He said, he will not gain any benefit from this. He has authority there too. For the lovers there is benefit. For the enemies there is none. Even for the enemies there is some. I won't say there is none. Because we find the hadith in Sahih Bukhari, where when Abu Lahab dies, and his brother Abbas sees him in the dream, and he says, what is your condition? He said, very harsh and severe punishment, except on Monday. On Monday my punishment is reduced, and I am allowed to drink cool water from this finger. Why the finger? This is the same hand he used to insult Rasulullah ﷺ later on, but this was the same finger that he used to free SAWW when she gave him the news of the birth of Rasulullah ﷺ. And when she came to tell him, she said, there's a son born in the house of your brother, Abdullah. And if you look at him, there's no description that can describe his beauty. And what does he do? He says like this, he says, you're free for giving me this good news. Which is interesting because nothing benefits the disbeliever that he has done in this world. Nothing. With the exception of being happy at the occasion of the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and spending money on it because he frees her. So even a disbeliever gains benefit from this. But the shirt issue of Rasulullah that I mentioned is also mentioned in Bukhari and Muslim. Also in Bukhari and Muslim, we see the hadith where Bibi Salma, radiallahu anha, the wife of Rasulullah, the mother of the believers, she had a little cup. And whenever people were sick, they would come to her with some water, and she'd pour it in there and pour it out, and they would drink it, and they would be fine. And when you would look in it, because people would come simply to look in it, what was in there were 3 blessed hairs of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting on the minbar, holding one of his hairs. And he said that whoever disrespects one of my hairs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make Jannah haram for him. Just like in fiqh, if someone insults the laces of the shoes of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has become kafir. Anything connected to the beloved should be loved. And if it's not, then the question is, do you even love the beloved? There is nothing of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the companions did not try to acquire, including his nail clippings, including when he spat, that they would catch it and rub themselves with it, with his blessed saliva. When he made wudu, they would catch the water from the wudu and rub themselves with it. And those who couldn't get any, they would go and rub the hands of the ones who did. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made the final Hajj, at the time of the shaving of the hair, the barber, he shaved the right side. Rasulullah ﷺ took that hair and he called Abu Talha al-Ansari radiallahu anhu, and he handed it to him. And then he shaved the left side, and then he handed it to him, and then he told him, distribute this amongst the people. This is where Khalid radiallahu anhu acquired one, placed it in his cap, and when he was holding it, he was looking at it with awe. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, he said, what will you do with this? And he said, I will use this to gain strength to fight the enemy of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are so-called scholars these days who say, this is just in the books of history. The issue with Khalid may be, but it's not really. But even that's not accurate. But even if that was accurate, about the story of Khalid, that, this is just in the books of history. The incident of him distributing the hair is in the hadith of Bukhari and Muslim. It's not the books of history. And if there was no significance to it, then why does he himself have it distributed? And we know that every time his hair was cut, the companions would take it. Those who would get some. Every time his head was shaved, when he went for Umrah, they would take whatever they could. But here, but then when they took it, someone could say, oh, this was just them. They did it. You know, because when it comes to making excuses against an issue, you know, people come up with everything from every angle. But Rasulullah himself distributed it, commanded it to be distributed. That takes something to a whole different level. We have one of these blesseds here. And, you know, so inshallah we will do ziyarah, we will see it. But again, everything comes back to adab. So, because, you know, this is one of those things where he distributed it so that later generations would not feel left out. And if I see a part of somebody, I am seeing them. You know, if I see someone from the back and all I see is their hair, I've still seen them. And so when we see this, we have to keep that in mind. And the adab should be intact, the respect and the honor, you know, because people do strange things. You know, and when you do those strange things under these circumstances, you know, this ends up becoming, again, like the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that anyone who disrespects one hair of mine, Allah will make Jannah haram for him. So we take something that should be good for us and we destroy it. Just like, you know, when people go for Hajj, you know, they're shoving and pushing and everything else. They've destroyed their Hajj. You know, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam equated that to committing suicide. So same thing here. When we see this, the adab, the respect, the honor should be intact. When you look at it, you know, you see it with awe and honor, and then you move on. Don't point your back towards it. Those who can stand, stand. Those who have medical issues, you know, sit down. You know, because that's, all of this gets back to adab, and time's getting late, so I'm not going to go into a lot of other details. But I think what I've said should be enough, unless somebody has any questions. And while we're seeing it, we're reciting salam and reciting, you know, salawat and salam on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And while we're waiting, everybody recite.
मैं अभी शुरू कर देता हूँ।
Everybody recite along with the verse.
وسلم اللهم صل على أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم يا ربي بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا يا ربي بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا فاغفر لنا ما مضى يا واسع الكرم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم.
So you can take one of the petals. If you want, you can touch it, and then you can eat it. Take that with you. You don't have to leave that there, inshallah.
اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. تاجدار حرم اے شہنشاہ دی تاجدار तड़पता है तैबा के दीदार को, कोई इसके सिवा आरज़ू ही नहीं, कोई इसके सिवा आरज़ू ही नहीं। तुम पे हर दम करोड़ों दुरूदो सलाम, हो निगाहे करम हम पे सुल्तान दी, तुम पे हर दम करोड़ों दुरूदो सलाम। أنت نور الله فجرا جئت بعد العسر يسرا، ربنا علاق قادرا يا إمام الأنبياء يا حبيبي يا محمد يا نبي سلام عليك، يا رسول سلام عليك، يا حبيب سلام عليك، صلوات الله عليك. يرتوي بالحب قلبي، حب خير رسل ربي، من به يبسط دربي، يا شفيع يا رسول الله يا نبي سلام عليك، يا رسول سلام عليك، يا حبيب سلام عليك، صلوات الله عليك. أنت في الوجدان حي، أنت للعينين ضي، أنت عند الحاضري، أنت حاد وسفي، يا حبيبي يا محمد يا نبي سلام عليك، يا رسول سلام عليك، يا حبيب سلام عليك، صلوات الله عليك. أيها المختار فينا زدنا الحب حنينا، جئتنا بالخير دينا، يا ختام المرسلين، يا شفيع محمد يا نبي سلام عليك، يا رسول سلام عليك، يا حبيب سلام عليك، صلوات الله عليك.
Have you ever thought what you would do if you were in the presence of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? You are in his presence, so try to act like that. Try to remember what you thought to yourself. How would you stand? How would you be so respectful and rely on him to ask Allah to forgive you for all the sins you've done. So try that.
قمرون 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 سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل 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 سيدنا النبي وجميل قمرون 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 سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل 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 سيدنا النبي وجميل وكف المصطفى كالورد نادي الله الله وإثرها يبقى إذا مس مست أيادي الله الله وكف المصطفى كالورد نادي الله الله وإثرها يبقى إذا مست أيادي الله الله وأما نوالها كل العباد وأما نوالها كل العباد وأما نوالها كل العباد حبيب الله يا خير البراء.
I want everyone to say inshallah who wants to inshallah. And also I forgot to mention that this cloth that you see inside that's wrapped around the glass, that was actually, someone had placed that on the blessed grave on the mother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that touched her grave, and then, we have that, alhamdulillah. So, I say we don't know if we really understood, which we never can, what this is mind-boggling. Try to get a glimpse of what, that Allah allowed you to be in this gathering where you could see something like this, Alhamdulillah. Has everyone seen on the men's side? Anyone left that wants to see? Take it, go. Sure. And then we're going to take it to the ladies' side, inshallah.
قمر سيدنا النبي قمر وجميل سيدنا النبي وجميل ولا ذل له بل كان نورا الله الله تنال الشمس منه والبدور الله الله ولا ذل له بل كان نورا الله الله تنال الشمس منه والبدور الله الله ولم يكن الهدى لولا ظهورا ولم يكن الهدى لولا ظهورا ولم يكن الهدى لولا ظهورا وكل الكون أنار بنور طه قمر سيدنا النبي قمر وجميل سيدنا النبي وجميل اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه صورت پہ لاکھوں سلام، حسن باطن کی سیرت پہ لاکھوں سلام، آپ عین خدا ہے نہ غیر خدا، وحدت حقیقت پہ لاکھوں سلام، حق نوا حق لقا حق ادا حق نما، حق کی عین مشیت پہ لاکھوں سلام، شجرہ انبیاء کا گل سرسبد، نوبہار رسالت پہ لاکھوں سلام، یا رسول اللہ سلام علیک، یا حبیب اللہ سلام علیک، سرور اصفیاء خاتم الانبیاء، نقش مہار نبوت پہ لاکھوں سلام، شمع جم رسل ہادی جزو کل، اس عادت ہدایت پہ لاکھوں سلام، شاہد ذات حال امم کے شہید، ایسی عینی شہادت پہ لاکھوں سلام، وصل کو سین ہے روت آئینہ، دید و دید خلوت پہ لاکھوں سلام، یا رسول اللہ سلام علیک، یا حبیب اللہ سلام علیک، کنز اسرار کے نور کا ہے امین، قلب مومن کی وسعت پہ لاکھوں سلام، حق قہر و غضب پر ہے چھائی ہوئی، شان مہر و محبت پہ لاکھوں سلام، آل کی عینیت پر ہزاروں درود، اور امامت ولایت پہ لاکھوں سلام، جس نے امت پر اولاد قربان کی، اس زعیم شفاعت پہ لاکھوں سلام، یا رسول اللہ سلام علیک، یا حبیب اللہ سلام علیک، حسن اخلاق جس کو ملا آپ کا، اس سزاوار رحمت پہ لاکھوں سلام، جانشی کربلا میں جو تھا آپ کا، اس کی عزم شہادت پہ لاکھوں سلام، جس سے قائم ہے دین، جس سے قائم جہاں، اس شفیع قیامت پہ لاکھوں سلام، جن کو حق نے کہا ہے عزیز اے عزیز، ان کے اصحاب و عزت پہ لاکھوں سلام، یا رسول اللہ سلام علیک، یا حبیب اللہ سلام علیک، یا رسول الله سلام عليك يا حبيب الله سلام عليك اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. Everybody take a seat, inshallah. Make dua, and then salat, and then food, inshallah. And we weren't, in the last couple of years we did the ziyarah, and we weren't planning on doing it this year, and then plans changed Wednesday. And we decided we would have it again this year as well. As we talked about before, everything is connection. And anything that is connected to the Rasulullah is loved by Allah. That's why Ahlul Bayt have such a high position. Because they are from the blood of Rasulullah. That's why the Sahaba Ikram have such a high position, because of their connection to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there's so many other things, but we'll make dua and we'll make salat, and then food, inshallah, soon. It lasted longer than I thought it would. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. Ya Allah, fill our hearts with your true love and your true love of your beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and all of those whom you love. Those of us who are sick, give them health, and those of us who have any kind of difficulties in their lives, remove those difficulties from their path, and make it easy for us to do those things which please you, and stay away from those things which displease you, and allow us to understand the maqam and the status of your Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and allow us to defend his honor and to die defending his honor, and give us the death of a martyr. Those who have contributed to this program in any way, whether by cooking the food or donating for the food, or eating the food, or coming, or in any way, fill their houses with barakah, and accept their lawful desires and their dua, and oh Allah, the efforts that we are putting here, guide us in this path, and make the right efforts successful, and the plans that we are putting forward to try to expand this center, and make that path easy for us, and open those doors, and allow this to become a source of nur for the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and accept the efforts of those who have passed before us, and allow their efforts to continue on, and fill their graves with nur, and give the families patience to persevere through the difficulties that come, and continue to come. Ya Allah, through the wasila of your Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam, forgive us all, and allow us to drink from his blessed hand on the day of judgment, from his holy kawthar, and allow him to accept us as his ummati, and allow him to take us into his Jannah. You have created the universe for him, and you have given him authority, and allow and accept this, accept us as his ummati, and allow us to honor him as he should be honored, and allow us to pass that on to our children, and allow them to be make them a source of light for this world, and make the salam and make our love for Rasulullah a source of light for our graves and in the hereafter. And anyone who has any lawful dua, accept them, and bless this community, and bless the whole ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة